Okay, so the reason I'm doing this is specifically because it's January, and I think we've had a big blow, haven't we? And it's really sort of, it's that time of year when part of us is really excited for the new year, but then it's a bit of a disappointment when the new year hits, and nothing seems to be much different. And I think for a lot of people, in terms of their fitness, and the goals, the aspirations they've got for their bodies, they come at this thinking, new year, the clock will strike 12, a bit like Cinderella kind of thing, and everything will change into something different, and they're hoping it's going to be something positive. But obviously magic doesn't really exist, and if we haven't put any planning in place towards meeting whatever it is we want to achieve, no magic is going to happen. And I think just people like, the magic of Christmas and the magic of New Year, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's January, nothing's changed, and like nothing's really happened. And this initial part of this workshop or training is all about how we compare ourselves to other people. And we all do it, men, women, kids, even people that you would think have it all will be comparing themselves to somebody else, because it's just natural. I mean, I'm doing it, and you've got to sort of recognize when you're doing it and ask yourself why. So this is what this is all about. So the first part of it is to really, I want to give back. So you've got some feeling that, none of us are alone here. All of the things we go through, those thought processes in terms of trying to get onto that journey of the body of our dreams, and all of that is possible. But I just want to be as real as I possibly can, to show as many people that we aren't alone in these thoughts, and it's very normal for us to feel our ups, feel our downs, on a regular basis. So as we get into it, again, just to introduce the topic, it's all about comparing ourselves to other people. So you can be anything. This is the main title of it, but you can't be everything. So you can be anything, but you can't be everything. It's absolutely impossible. So when we compare ourselves to other people, we're often comparing their best features against our average ones. And that's where we start to feel a little bit deflated. So it's like being right-handed and trying to play an instrument with your left hand. You're not really going to achieve much luck, because that's your dominant hand and that's your strength and that's your weakness. Not much you can do about it. And in terms of, physical ability and things like that, some of us are good at some things and some of us are good at others, and that's just where it lies. It's only natural to kind of like want to be better than them. I mean, I find myself like looking at other people, I'm like, why, how does she do it? How does she manage all this stuff? And I'm like, juggling the kids, and I'm juggling my business, and when I'm missing my gym sessions, I'm really beating myself up about it, and I'm like, how does she manage to do it all? But I don't know what's going on in her life. But that's a good sign of character, that you want more for yourself and that you deserve it, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But the unconscious realization that when we're not off, that we are not often the same as those people, starts to become a little bit self-destructive. And especially around this time of year, it's moody and dark, and all of the party stuff's over, even if it was house party stuff, and we're sort of hit with the realization that we've already fallen off track come week one, and today is the end of week one, which is purposely why this workshop is sitting on the 7th of January. That's why it's happening today, to get you moving quickly before all of this stuff falls down. So
good.
Absolutely needed, don't you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
Right, so I'm thinking that everyone needs a little boost at the moment. So going back to the topic, more often than not, people are probably comparing themselves to you, for whatever reason. I mean, you personally, I mean, I need I'm talking directly at you, Paula, because you have inspired
okay.
me so much this year, in terms of your positivity, the radiant light that you give to everybody you speak to, and how grateful you've been. I mean, you sent me 2 gifts and you've endlessly grateful for what we did together. And there's a lot of people that would look at you and say, God, how does she do it? How does she keep that, you know, that positivity, that, you know, that joy about her? But, you know, likewise, we don't know what's going on in your personal world. Behind the smile, there may be other things going on. And that's my point. We all give off our own sort of amazing traits, which they are, but nobody really knows anything about us and our own personal lives. So when we compare ourselves to other people, we don't know really how they got to where they got to, and, you know, what their personal struggles are. But as humans, we always seek something other than what we already have got, and it's just normal. We wouldn't be human if we didn't do it. Yet worse, when we compare ourselves to others, we end up focusing all our energy on bringing them down instead of raising ourselves up. And that's not to say you wish them bad in any way. It's more down to frustration that you are struggling to get there where they have got to already. You are struggling on your journey. So your energy is going into them rather than you. And there's one thing that you're better at than anybody else, and that's being you being your unique individual person who you are. And this is the only game that you can really win with. Would anyone agree with that the only game you can win with is the game with yourself? I'm hoping there's some people. Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Good to see you. Yeah, no, it's really good to have you here, and another inspirational woman that I've met in the last few weeks. So it's good to have you here, Lucy. So yeah, the only game you can win is the one with yourself. So when you start this mindset, the world starts to look better again. You no longer are you then focused on where you stand in relative to other people, and that's a much refreshing place to be in. So instead, your focus and your energy is placed on what you're capable of right now and how you can improve yourself. So I know in your situation, Lucy, I mean, I know what you and I have discussed and spoken about, and you're dealing with what you're capable of doing right now. And you already expressed that in a message to me earlier. You're already doing and playing the game of dealing with your situation. And what is that in the screen? Is that
My cat.
it's a cat's tail. Why do they always stick their bum in your face? I've got 2, and it's always you turn around and I'm like, oh, that's very delightful, thank you. That's so funny. There's always a cat bum in the way, isn't there? So life becomes about being a better version of yourself, and when that happens, naturally your effort and your energy go towards working on yourself every day and not worrying about what everyone else is doing. And would you agree, social media just zaps you, especially if you're following fitness accounts? And I don't tend to post any, too many posy photos, and I'm not really lean like you get a lot of these women out there. I'm very more realistic in my physique. I'm a mum, I haven't got time to train all day, but what I do manage to do is maintain my physique and have really good schedules and really good understanding. And I don't freak out if I don't train, 4 times a week, and I'm hoping that resonates with the people that follow me, because there are a lot of accounts out there which I think, you, Lucy, Amy, Paula, and whoever else is watching this would be like, that's a really unrealistic body for me.
Yeah.
There's so many of them out there, and the thing is that they have different lifestyles to us, and even if they don't, maybe they are mums, but they are probably working themselves to the bone to get there. To maintain physiques like that, you generally have to be very selfish, and you give a lot of time to yourself. And when you have children or busy schedules and farms to run and horses to look after, small children to tend to, it's just not realistic. It's not going to happen. So when you get to this point, you quit being in competition with other people and how they look, and then how you think they feel. And as we're saying, ultimately, we often don't know what other people are feeling inside. And just because they might look like they've got their shit together and they have a body that you might want or aspire to have, they may not be as happy as you think they are. And that's when it comes back to ultimately feeling how you need to feel. And in this life, all we want is 3 things, girls: feel loved, right? Feel
Yes.
needed and respected. Loved, needed,
Yeah.
respected. At the end of the day, you know, if we feel that good and we feel good about ourselves, it doesn't really matter what shape our body's in, as long as it's healthy and in good working order and you're not abusing your body at the end of the day. And if you're doing none of those things, your body will comply with really what you want it to look like. So achieving those things can be done in many ways, but not necessarily having a body that looks a certain way. So loved, needed, respected, and ultimately that brings happiness, total
Yeah.
happiness. Is that all? Is that all hitting home? I hope so. So it may be that starting to see those little results through a proper routine that serves your goal is something that starts to motivate you, make you happy and excited for the next. A bit like when you and I were working together, Paula, we would check in every Monday or Sunday at the time. I used to work weekends, and it would be like, oh, we did it, we've done it, now we're excited for the next. So it's breaking the chunk down into the small pieces. And I always say to my clients, you're the train. I think I've said this to you, Lucy, recently, you're the train, we just reroute the train until we get to where we want to go. And it's the tiny little adjustments that get you where you want to be. So a lot of the time though, you've got people who see this big picture like the girl on Instagram, and to them the bigger picture is like the mountain. To reach it seems really daunting and scary, like that top, that peak of Everest or whatever it is. And that's how you emotionally feel about it, because you feel very daunted, because it, you know, 9 times out of 10 you might be a stone or 2 stone overweight, you might be 4 stone overweight, you know, you want to lose 4 stone. You know, 4 stone is a lot to lose, and that takes time. 4 stone on average takes a year to lose. But if you're seeing that as like, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get it now, that's a big mountain to climb. So you attempt to climb the mountain with all these hopes and dreams, which is what, you know, New Year's resolutions do to us. But the peak looms over your head, and every month you're not getting any closer to it, and it's just there staring at you, and it intimidates you so much that you feel the fight's lost, and you're like, oh fuck it, oh like that is the mindset of a lot of people. That was my mindset 3 or 4 years ago after having Harper, and I didn't have a lot of weight to lose, but what I had was a harder challenge of changing my body shape, and it took a lot of time to do that, and it wasn't going to happen overnight. Like, you can lose a stone in 12 weeks, as you and I quite rightly know, Paula. It's quite easy to lose a stone in 12 weeks. But when you start getting to the end of that journey and you have to tidy up nips and bits and stuff, that's when it's really like you've got to be laser focused and in. So they feel outnumbered and that the odds are stacked against them. And it happens. And that's why having like the smaller hill to climb creates much more enthusiasm, as it's like a total more attainable goal. The victory is always in sight. Like when we were working together, it was always like, it's a pound, that's easy, victory's in sight. And your chances of winning are pretty stacked in your favor, and that makes you feel really good inside. One thing I notice about myself is there was an occasion last year, and at the point I was very focused on my training, and if I didn't go in the gym, it would really deflate me big time. And one morning I was really late to get up, and I knew it was going to bug me if I didn't go in the gym. And I knew I didn't have much time. I had 15 minutes left, you know, because I'd wasted so much. I was probably lying in bed or something. And I got up and I went down in the gym, and all I did was 2 sets of whatever I was doing and left the gym. Having done that small, tiny little bit left me happy for the day, without that feeling of I had failed, or that feeling of I had let myself down. Because, I mean, I could go around saying, oh, well, I failed, but I actually did something. And that's the mountain. You break the mountain down into hills. You don't feel like you failed. And then, you know, some days I might just walk in the gym, turn the light on and turn it off. I'm not joking. I've done that before. I have done that. I've told clients to do that who are really, they've got this stuck. And I'm like, I'm sorry, just walk out, just walk into your space, stand there for a few minutes, and then ask yourself if you're going to do anything. Once you're there, you'll probably do something. That's just the way the mind works, and it's almost tricking the mind and tricking the brain.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing a lot with my clients at the moment, just working on them in terms of getting them tricked into doing stuff. And
Yeah.
like, oh, I didn't see that coming. So then at this point, hopefully you've stopped comparing yourself with the other people and you focus internally about how you can work the old noggin and make it work to your favor. So I don't sell PDFs anymore. I used to, I'll be honest with you, I used to sell, oh, here's a quick fix. Bullshit, doesn't work. You know, someone will buy that off me for £60 and I feel like I've done them out of any hope that they ever had, and I just won't do it anymore. So when you stop, you start focusing on you start on the inside and then you work to the outside, and then you start being better at what really matters, which is being who you are, not what you think you should look like. And when you have appreciation from here, the universe, if you're into that, and you know I'm a bit wacky, love all that stuff, will deliver, because you did it from the right way, from the inside to the outside. It's simple, but it's not easy. Would you all agree that we've all at some point in our lives done it the wrong way round?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
I did it. I've done the Herbal Life. I've done Atkins. What have you lot done? I've done Weight Watchers. I've done all. Haven't done much.
I've done, well, tried Weight Watchers. I didn't do Atkins. No, I can't think I did, but I think my hubby did that because it's all meat, isn't it? And I'm not a massive, well, I like meat, but I couldn't eat like that. God, the first time I wanted to lose weight, I was living abroad and I used those Dexatrims. I mean, how awful is that? I don't know if you know what they are, but
I've used them. I used Skinny Sticks, and it was this ridiculous powder that you would throw into some water and you would sip on it throughout the day. And my other half will probably watch this and he'll know I've been going through his wash bag because he's just coming back to the States. I was going through his wash bag the other day looking for his Blistex, and I was like, what is this? It's like Fat Busters. I'm like, hang on, like you're with a PT and I could do like this for a living and you've got Fat Busters in your bag. I'm like, I've just told the whole world that that's what, oh my God, I didn't say that. It might have belonged to somebody else, I don't know, but they were in there.
You know, sometimes maybe it's in there just in case he has a big blowout meal.
Maybe, yeah, he's on the road a lot, so it's not his fault really. So
Bless him.
the most important things in life, they're measured internally, and it will never be any different. You think of Buddha, you think of, you know, the gratitude stuff that we talk about, the visualization, the meditation. Why do I get up 6 and do yoga and lay there on the floor staring at the ceiling for 5 minutes? Because it resets this. So I get up and I feed myself in the morning, but before I feed myself, I feed this thing in here. I'll feed this, I'll feed my belly, and then I'll feed my muscles, and then I'm good. So it's in that order. That's the one that is going to control my belly. It's going to control whether I train, everything. So thinking about what matters to you is hard. It's really hard. When, I mean, I'll address this to Lucy, because Lucy and I were on a phone call not so long ago, and I kept asking you, why? Why do you want it? Why is it important to you? Do you remember me kept saying that? What does it mean to you? And there's a reason I'm doing that, because not many of us really consider what's important to us, but playing to someone else's scoreboard is easier. That's why a lot of people do it. But winning the wrong game is pointless and empty. You get one life and you've got to play your own game. So here's a few things I want you to consider and remember. And then I'm going to go into the final bit and we're going to talk about things that throw us off track. And I'm really interested to hear what they are. And it's a bit cheating really, because Lucy and I have spoken recently, so I know everything, every detail. The first one is, you see the result, not the effort, when you're looking at somebody else. So when you look at someone else's success, you only see their results, and you may be looking at years of effort, years of trying, comparing your beginnings to their end. So to achieve the success that you desire, You need to walk the road to success, and it never helps to jump to the end and make comparisons to those who have arrived. And I think that's the downfall of social media, especially for the younger generation who don't, I mean, we're older adults. I don't know how old you are, Amy, I can't see you, but I mean, us here, I mean, we're 40 plus, we've got...
I'm 50 plus.
It doesn't matter. 40 plus, that you're in the loop. So, you know, as you get older, you start to figure this stuff out a lot more. You're very much more, you've lived a life, you've got experience. But there's a lot of younger people out there, and I will say this for any younger people watching this, you know, who are 16 upwards if they do. But the influences out there, which they've grown up with, we haven't. You know, they grow up thinking this is absolutely normal life. We know the difference. That's the problem, is the comparisons that they have to other people.
I feel for them.
Our children, our grandchildren, and it is a bit of a worry, you know, what's going to happen. You know, obviously we've all got little girls. I don't know about you, Amy. I don't assume you've got children. I'm not sure.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I just could tell you've got a much more youthful voice than I have. So bottom line is, you're not them. So comparing yourself to others mean you compare what you see in others to what you know about yourself, and things always look better from the outside than they do from the inside, and people often put up a good front. I know loads of people that put on a good front and they make themselves look better to the world than they actually feel inside, which is why I like to be as open as I possibly can. When I'm having a shit day, I'm hoping that people can resonate with that, because I'm hoping that I'm not the only one having a crap day. I'm hoping I'm not the only one falling off my diet. I'm not on a diet, but when I say diet, the type of food I eat, I hope I'm not the only one feeling rubbish about that. I hope I'm not the only one that just looks up to the sky sometimes and goes, what is this all about? I just, you know, some days you just want to have a cry. You know, and some days when it's push me, pull you, and you just think, how can I fit in everything I've got to do? And then, you know, something else comes along. And that's why I'm so real, because I think there's a lot of desperate housewives out there, and I'm definitely one of them, without a shadow of a doubt. No matter how on top of my game my body looks, I'm still a desperate housewife at heart. But I am unique, and so are you. Like, you're not the person you compare yourself to. Everyone has different strengths and everyone has different weaknesses. We're all special in our own unique ways. We're all beautiful in our own unique ways. So by comparing yourself to others, you're just trying to take the things that make you special and unique and strip them away by comparing yourself to some mythical norm. So this part of the year, like New Year, 1 week in, we are doing that a lot, because we feel potentially that we've lost our mojo. We really set out with the best of intentions, and it might have been like you, Paula, last year you were on fire, but for some reason you've lost your mojo, and we literally get to a point where we start comparing ourselves. I'm going to speed this up a little bit to the last little section, because we've got 10 minutes left of our chat here. But I wanted to ask you all something. I wanted to ask you, what is it that you want to achieve with yourself in just a few words? If I get Lucy to go first, what is it you want to achieve with yourself in just a few words?
Okay, few words for me is really difficult.
I love it.
So I think to feel more confident about myself, to stop comparing myself to other people, whether that's people on social media, but also my friends, and just to be able to be a really good role model for my little girl.
Massively, yes.
Positive.
And what kind of blocks have been in your way of you achieving doing that?
Me.
In terms of what would it be? There must be, I think if you had, you know, a butler and a bazillion pounds and all this kind of stuff, it wouldn't be you. There's other things. What would you think they are that's stopping you?
I think now it's the whole COVID and everything else. That's kind of just put everything on a hold right now. 2 years ago, if I was in the same situation, it wouldn't be an issue. But I think there's so much uncertainty in the world at the moment around jobs and just everything, and I just think it's just put so much more pressure on people and kind of where they are in their lives.
But the
So
thing I'm saying to people is, I want the COVID negativity to not come inside to our lives, okay? Because we don't have COVID, hopefully, at the moment. You know, hopefully we won't ever get it.
yeah,
But we've got to separate COVID. So when I'm asking you what's stopping you from achieving the things you want to achieve, and, you know, maybe it's weight loss, maybe it's a better routine, you know, why haven't you achieved those things? You know, what have been the blocks for you mentally, you know, COVID aside, because, you know, I'm assuming you've been dealing with this for a few years now, and COVID's only been apparent for the last 10 months. Previous to this, you know, why didn't we get there? What was it for you?
I think it's because I tried so many of the quick wins. So I tried the Slimming World, I tried the Weight Watchers, and they're just not sustainable. So it was kind of trying all these different things, you know, the shakes, everything.
Yeah.
So it's fine. I hadn't found something which was sustainable. It was something which was going to be a way of life rather than a quick fix. So
yeah, so it's the yo-yoing. It's not having the education, the understanding of how to eat and, you know, train.
Yeah.
And I think it's having that motivation to keep going at it when life throws you off track, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah.
What about you, Paula? What, before we met, what was throwing you off track?
Oh, everything, Amy. I had very low self-esteem, and I think the most important thing in my life was eating. I mean, I am married to a chef as well, and that's pretty difficult. So, although he's obviously not working as a chef because he's retired now, but that probably makes it worse because we live and work from home. So he wants 5 meals a day.
Feel that the mountain was too big to handle? You know, did you ever feel that you were unsure how to even get started?
Well, I just put on so much weight. I felt uncomfortable and stopped exercising. I mean, we build houses as well, as you know, the two of us. So, you know, 3 years ago, I finished a massive project and I lost loads of weight doing that because I was physically working every day. But my body ached and I'd eaten so badly through it because I just didn't have the time. And there's only the two of us. So, and I was exhausted and I just didn't want to exercise. I didn't know what else to do, and it spiraled out of control, and I had no control, and I didn't know how to get any control back. I started following you, and I was watching little bits and bobs, and I think Steve had shared something, and I was like, oh, I wonder what Abby does. And then I started following you and listening to you, your positivity, and how you came across, and I thought, I think this girl can really help me. And then I compiled an email to you saying, I don't know if I'm too old or if I'm too fat, or can you help? And you went, of course I can. And that was it. As soon as you told me you could.
What was the change between Paula before we were working together to the Paula that, you know, we've got now?
Well, you know, I don't know if you remember, but I did try to put it off. Do you remember? Because I used the COVID thing as a bit of an excuse and not having the right food. And you called me up and said, come on, Paula, let's get this program on the way. And I just thought, I've got to do it. Come on, Paula, you've got to do it, you know.
No, absolutely. So, as we're talking, I'm just upgrading my account so we can all talk just a slight bit longer, because you only get 40 minutes on PayPal, because everyone wants money out of you, don't they? So as we went on, what would be the differences that you saw in terms of working alone, trying to battle it? What did we implement that really helped you?
Well, I think we changed the program most weeks, didn't we? I mean, basically we changed all the foods to, I mean, I never noticed how much protein or how many carbs, or I didn't even think about it, Abby. I never thought about it ever, I don't think.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. It started making me think about, and portion control.
Yeah, and having something set in stone as well, I think was quite helpful, something that you could work towards more than anything else. And then something that we've all got to have a goal. And I think when you go bowling, I always say, when you go bowling, you put the stabilizers on, don't you, when you're not very good with your bowling arm. And I think until people are very good with the nutrition side of things, it's better to put the stabilizers on and have a real good structured goal, and something that they can stick to rigidly, and without that it's easy to drift. And the difference in calories from you know, 1 biscuit to 3 could really wreck your progress. So we now have unlimited millets because I've just paid for more. So that's good. Yeah, and I think that was the thing, like getting that routine and that structure in place. But the thing is, do you remember when you were at school, and I always use this analogy, the SMART in science, and I can't remember what the S is, so I think it was, I don't know if it's sustainable, measurable, attainable, realistic, and tangible. Do you remember that? And I used to think that's kind of rubbish, but it's so true. Do you not remember that? Maybe it was just my teacher. And the same thing applies when it comes to like the nutrition. Like you have to have the goal, which is wherever that is. It might be to lose weight, it might be to gain muscle. So then you've got to rework back from that goal, and that would start with the headspace, thinking to yourself, you know, and visualizing I can reach that goal, and having that in your head that is attainable. If you think that's not attainable, then you're not going to reach it. So that's why if the goal is too big, it depends on the individual. We've got to then say, if that's putting you off, let's forget that, let's come break it down, and now we're here. Then the brain is kind of like, oh, I accept that offer. That's much better for me. I accept that offer. I'm willing to play ball now. I'm willing to be a little bit more, have more belief in you. I'm talking about you're talking about yourself in the third person here now, and have a little bit more faith in you, because I think this is achievable. But that, bugger off, you'll never get there, because there's always that niggling, nasty Nelly voice in the background, and it's your subconscious mind, which is very clever at talking you out of stuff, talking you out of taking a chance, talking you out of you believing that you can actually do something. And I think with you, we broke it back, and then each week we could tick the box. And if something didn't work, which is what bugs the hell out of me with a lot of my clients at the moment, and if they're listening to this, I don't care, they don't check in on a Monday. So I don't know how much they weigh. So then come next Monday, how am I supposed to help them? Because we've got nothing measurable, nothing we measured. So we can't then look back to see. And also, if I'm setting them up on a week where I don't know if it's tangible, that they can actually reach the next step, it's all just it's a bit silly. It's not obsessive, it's calculative, and there's nothing wrong with calculating everything, you know, having a grasp on it. So Amy, what about you? I know we can't see you, but we can hear you. Tell us what your background is, what your blocks have been.
I think my blocks are that I give up quite easily. You know, you don't just have one bad meal or one bad day and go, okay, put that to one side and start again. I'll just go, okay, well, I've just had 1 biscuit, I might as well have the whole packet. Or I've just had 1 bag of crisps, I'm going to eat the whole lot. Or like, so it then escalates very quickly. And it's setting unrealistic goals. It's like, you know, people put on social media about this 28-day plan and whatever, and you have to exercise once a day or twice a day for 28 days. Well, that's fine if that's all you do, or if you are on furlough or you're not working, and you can do those 2 exercises. But when you're trying to fit in everything else, horses, lifestyle, work around it, you can do it for 2 or 3 days. You start to feel a bit better, and then on that 4th day you miss it, and you just think, oh, I'll give up. That's it now. I've missed it once. I might as well not bother. Or I haven't got the time to exercise twice a day, so I'm not going to do it. Rather than going, actually, even just doing it twice a week is better than nothing.
I think it's really important. Remember what I said about going back into the gym and just doing a couple of sets.
Yeah.
If that's all you can do, you know, then that's all you can do. And I think that's better to do that than to do nothing. And if you did just a couple of sets, like 4 times a week, can you imagine where you would be? It might take you a little bit longer, but the fact that you're just doing a little bit and you're comfortable with that little bit, you know, in the end, in 6 months' time, you're going to be in a much different place to where you would have been if you just did that 2-week PDF, got fed up with it and quit. And that's why those intense programs are really unfair on a lot of women. And I've done them, I've downloaded them, and there's an hour and a half, and I'm there and I'm like, there's this gorgeous girl on the beach, and I'm like, God, how on earth? Because she doesn't all she does. And then she makes money off of other people's insecurities by, you know, selling her product and her program. And I think for you, Amy, it sounds like you've been sucked into that like most of us.
Yeah, and I think it's fine if you've, well, I'm not saying it's healthy, but it's fine if you've got an event or something, you know, you're going on a holiday, you've got a wedding, you want to do 2 weeks of hard graft, and then you've got this occasion, but then afterwards the weight starts to go back on and you start to lose the fitness, and then you've got no motivation to do it again because it was hell for 2 weeks and it's all gone back on anyway. It's like finding something that you can actually maintain, and that's more likely to be 2 or 3 times a week exercise that you can fit in when it suits, rather than 2 or 3 times a day.
Oh, massively. And that really does bring it all back to the point of why we came on and did this workshop anyway, is to remember what you just said there, Amy. When you revert and you have to keep going back and repeat the same thing again, it's debilitating, it's tiring, you know, it's deflating when every new year, here we are again, back to the same cycle again. And that's what I wish for anybody watching this, is that come next January, they're in a position where, you know, we all want to be, is happy with our bodies, you know, totally respecting our own bodies, let alone, you know, having people respect us, respect ourselves first, and being able to maintain what we've achieved and never go back to that again. You know, have a beauty and a respect for our own bodies, and an education and an understanding, and which is why when I'm coaching people, a minimum of 12 weeks is I will work with them for, you know, and that's soon going to up to 6 months. And that might not be realistic for some people, but for those people who really want to make change with their bodies for the rest of their lives, that's why that is an important thing to address. You know, if you're really that committed to making the change, you know, invest in yourself, invest in your future. Whether you do that yourself, whether you ask for any support from anybody else, that's completely up to you. But finding a way to prevent you having to repeat that again, because, you know, if we live to a good decent age and we've spent 60 years in that cycle, wow, how depressing. And how realistic to give that to our children watching us do that. I watched my mum and my nan do that like quarterly, if less, you know, and they'd be on this and they'd be on that, and then, you know, and I grew up watching them go through cycles and watching them. Oh, my nan be like, oh, I'm in a 16, I need to get down to a 14. Oh, now I've gone up to an 18. And, you know, whether that affected me or not as a child, I don't know if anyone else's parents were the same, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry, Abby, my nan was like a 28 or 30. Bless her, she lived to 94, only had one lung and ate everything you could possibly imagine.
Oh my God, sorry.
She was like half the size of a house, but I love her to pieces, honestly. We called her Big Nana.
You know,
so my husband always says, be careful, you're going to be just like her.
Oh, don't. I mean, like, I remember being a kid, Amy, you probably may not even remember this shop, but C&A, do you remember C&A? Probably spent most of my childhood in C&A, sat underneath a mannequin with my head in my hands, fluffing up all the dust and just being so bored, whilst my mum and my nan would scour the you know, the rails looking for the size they wanted, or something that hid this part of their body, or something that hid that part of their body, or some uplift thing, and we're like that. Oh, is this my life? But, yeah, I was quite privy to the C&A dummies, but yeah, it's again what we come from, to what we learn, to what we know, and all that kind of stuff. Have you enjoyed our chat this evening? Have you had a good time? Yeah, it's been really nice to go through. I didn't actually cover all the bits in the end because I thought we were going to cut dead, but I think to have had a chance to have a laugh, which is the most important thing at the moment when we're all so cut off, and obviously other people will watch this and have a giggle at our giggles as well, but also just to remember that we're all women, and we have got a lot on our plates, and it's not easy. And like, I was raised by a single mum, Lucy, so it was just me and my mum. And you know, I respect my mum wholly for what she did for me, and my nan was obviously there in CNA at the same time. But yeah, you know, women are strong, and unfortunately we do put ourselves on the back burner so many times, you know, and we put everybody else before us. You know, we put everyone before us, even if it's pets and dogs or whatever. We'll still do it, even if we haven't had families yet. It's just nature's way, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think, you know, realizing that we're not alone in our struggles, and sometimes, you know, we do compare ourselves to other people. We need to remember, as I finish up on the last note here, is remember how unique and special we are, because as Kurt Cobain famously said, was it him? I always get this wrong. Wanting to be someone else is a waste of who you are. Wanting to be someone else is a waste of who you are, and that is so true. And you're beautiful ladies. And Amy, I'm gonna Google search you up, stalk you to see you now.
Yeah, we're gonna search you, Amy.
God knows what she's doing in the backgrounds there. I dread to think, but we'll let her stay here.
I'm in my dressing gown. That's all.
Oh.
I've actually got nothing on underneath this screen. It's just naked. No, joking. Oh, and don't forget, Friday, there's a live, another live with me, Get Sick of Me a Minute, on Friday in Facebook group. And I'm talking about what fucking idiot started New Year's Eve resolutions. So
yeah.
I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope to see you there. Have a nice evening. Thank you all.
You too, Abby.
For
Thank you.
And it's been wonderful.
It's nice to meet you, Amy. If I couldn't see you, lovely to meet you too, Lucy.
I'm literally just sitting here in this.
Oh, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. That was the closing the curtains, the special piece. Thank you for doing that for us. Thank you. Right, this is going to be recorded and it will be dropped in the Facebook group momentarily. So I will see you girls soon, and you know where I am if you need me.
Take care, Abby. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.